Hello. Welcome to our next chapter, that is CARO. So we've already done with all of these chapters, and today we will be doing CARO 2020. So the last two attempts, this has come for 5 months approximately. So please definitely, this is a must-do chapter. And of course, as usual, I have again made the mnemonic for how to learn these clauses, which numbers, so that it is easier to learn. So we'll start with first is with regards to the applicability of CARO. That is, CARO is applicable to which all companies. So all companies. That means even foreign companies, excluding these are the companies which do not have to follow CARO. So CARO 2020 does not have to be followed by your banking companies, your insurance companies, your small company, one person company, and company licensed to operate under Section 8. That is the Section 8 companies. Now, the definition of small company, they have made an amendment for your May 23. That is, a small company is someone with paid up share capital up to rupees 4 crore. When they say up to rupees 4 crore, that means either equal to or less than 4 crore. So, your paid up share capital is equal to or less than 4 crore, and your turnover is equal to or less than 40 crores. So it is 4 crores and 40 crores. So this is your amendment for May 2023. So these are the companies to whom CARO is not applicable. And last is your private limited company. Private limited company with paid up share capital plus reserves and surplus equal to or less than. So these are the limits. So paid up share capital should be 1 crore maximum. Bank and FI borrowing should be 1 crore maximum, and revenue should be 10 crores maximum. So that is your private listed company. So the key to learn this I have made. I will be uploading this on the Telegram channel also. So that is your is OBC. So your insurance company, small company, one person company, banking company, and company under Section 8. So that is your is OBC. And there is your P also, that is your private company. Okay. Now coming to your clauses. So your first clause 3.1 talks about fixed assets. So fixed assets is the reporting area, and what are the reporting requirements? That is, what all do I have to report under this clause? So first is the proper records maintained for, one is your PP, that is your property, plant and equipment, and B is your intangible assets. So whether proper records have been maintained for both of these. Next is physical verification has been conducted by management at reasonable intervals for your property, plant and equipment. So they have not defined reasonable interval. Next is your title deeds of immobile property. Title deeds means your ownership documents. So title deeds of immobile property are held in name of name of company. If no, then detail that is why they are not in the name of company. Then so instead of if over here, it should be of. So it should be name of company. Okay, next is specify amount of change if PP or intangible asset is revalued by more than or equal to 10%. So that means if your revaluation figure is the deviation, the change is more than 10% or equal to 10%, that you have to specify. And next is any proceedings against company for holding Benami property. If there are any proceedings, if there are any cases against the company with regards to Benami property, that also has to be reported. All of this is reported under clause 3.1. Okay. Now next is clause 3.2, that is your inventory. So don't worry, we will do how to learn this also. For those who are not interested in this theory part, you can directly skip to the mnemonics to learn it, or you can download it from the Telegram channel. So next is your 3.2, that is your inventory. Now inventory is physical verification is conducted by management at reasonable interval. Over here also, inventory is just like fixed asset. They have specified reasonable interval. Any discrepancy greater than 10% in aggregate for each class of inventory, notice same as fixed asset. Next is sanctioned working capital limit is less than 5 crore from banks FI on basis of security of current asset. So that is when your working capital is more than 5 crore, when a working capital loan has been taken with amount of more than 5 crores from your banks or financial institution on basis of security of current asset, that means your inventory. So you have taken a working capital loan and you have given your inventory, your current assets as security. So in such a case, whether the quarterly statement has been filed with the bank or financial institution as per the books. Next, 3.3 is your clause regarding investment, guarantee, security, loans or advances. So first is any investment, any guarantee, any advances. So you have to specify the aggregate amount and what is the amount that is outstanding at the end of the year. Now to whom these outstanding, these investments to whom? So first is your two subsidiary, two joint venture and associate. So S is your subsidiary, JV is your joint venture and A is associate and B is other. So you have to bifurcate this into two, that these and others. Okay. Next, terms and conditions of such activity not prejudicial to the interest of the company. The terms and conditions of such investment guarantee, whatever you have done, they should not be against the company. They should be beneficial for the company. They should not be prejudicial. Okay. Next is loans and advances. So schedule of payment of principal and interest stipulated. That is your loans and advances that you have done. Whether the period of payment, the amount of interest, when I have to pay, what I have to pay, whether all of that has been detailed or not. Next is if amount overdue, state the total overdue. Overdue, that is already the expiry date, the payment date has already passed on and you have still not received the money. So if the amount is overdue, state the total overdue for greater than 90 days. That is from your date, from when the payment must have been made, 90 days from that date. If still, if even after 90 days you have not received the money, in such a case, you have to state the amount overdue and also what recovery steps you have taken to realize this amount. Next is amount of dues renewed or extended or settled by fresh loan and percentage with total. So that is what percentage of your dues have they been extended or renewed, or you have converted that interest payment to another loan. Okay, so that also has to be specified. And your last point is granted loans repayable on demand or without specifying term of payment. So you have to check that was how many loans have they raised where there is no specified date of payment. It is there is no term, there is without specifying any term of repayment. Okay, next is your compliance to section 3(4) talks about compliance to section 185 and 186. So now what is 185? 185 is your loan to directors and 186 is loans and investment by the company. So of course you must have studied these sections in law also, so I'm not going very much in detail. Next, your clause 3(5). So that talks about public deposits. So whether directives by RBI, that is from section 70 through to 76 of the Companies Act, have been complied or not. So that is what you have to report under clause 5. Next clause is your 6, that is cost records. So whether maintenance of cost records has been specified by CG. So CG has specified some companies who are required to maintain cost records. So whether they have been whether the company comes under that those list of companies, and if yes, whether they have maintained these records or not. 3(7) comes your statutory dues, or I should say statutory dues, because that is Sat. So therefore statutory dues. So A talks about undisputed outstanding statutory dues greater than 6 months as on balance sheet date. So you have to report any undisputed. Undisputed means neither I have a problem nor the government has a problem, but for some reason the company has not paid these dues. So therefore these are undisputed outstanding statutory dues for greater than 6 months as on balance sheet date. And second you have to report is disputed statutory dues. Disputed statutory dues is, for example, government says that boss, you have to pay me 2 crores, and I say no, not 2 crores, I have to pay only 1 crore 50 thousand or 1 crore 50 lakhs. So only my remaining 50 lakhs becomes only my remaining 50 lakhs become undisputed, because I am saying I do not have to pay while the government demands it. So therefore disputed statutory dues, the amount and forum where the dispute is pending. Forum means where I have put a case or where the government has put a case, that is your forum. Okay. Next is your section 3(8), that is unrecorded income. Now how do you learn this? Unrecorded income. Okay, so unrecorded income. So transactions not recorded in books of accounts, surrendered or disclosed, or whether they are under IT assessment. So all of these can be your unrecorded incomes. Next is your 3(9), that is repayment of dues. This talks about default in paying principal or interest. So there is a period and the amount of default, that is for how long you have defaulted and what is the amount of default. Next is declared willful defaulters by any bank, FI or any other lender. That is willful defaulter is someone who has accepted that boss, I'm not going to pay, so that becomes a willful defaulter. Next is whether the loan applied for purpose has been obtained. So therefore, the purpose for which the loan was taken, has the loan been utilized for that purpose or not? And if not, what is the amount diverted and where it was utilized? That is, for what purpose did you utilize this loan? Next is your short-term funds used for long-term purpose. So any short-term funds that you have raised, if you have used them for any long-term purpose, then you have to specify the nature and amount. He talks about funds of companies used for associate, subsidiary, or joint venture. That is, fund of my company has been used for my associate, my subsidiary, or my joint venture. In such a case, nature of transaction, that is for what purpose I have used and how much of the amount has been utilized. Next is raised loan on pledge of securities held in, say, that is your subsidiary, joint venture, and associate. So, and any default in repayment. So, if you have raised any loan on pledge of securities of your subsidiary, your joint venture, or your associate, then in such a case, has there been any default in repayment? Okay, your 310 talks about money raised by public issue and term loan. So if you have raised any money via public issue or a term loan, then section clause 310 will be applicable. That is money raised by IPO or FPO. IPO stands for your initial public offer and FPO stands for your further public offer. So any money raised by IPO or FPO has been applied for the purpose they were raised for. That is the loan, the money that you have raised. Of course, you specified some purpose that this amount I will be utilizing for this purpose. So whether they have been applied for that purpose which we had stated. So therefore it says money raised by IPO FPO applied for the purpose they were raised for. And second is any preferential allotment or private placement of shares or convertible debenture. Convertible debenture means when you raise a debenture and at the end of the validity these debentures turn into shares, preference share, equity share, anything. So these are your convertible debentures. So whether section 42 and 62 have been complied with and the funds raised have been used for the intended purpose or not. Okay. Now your 311 is with regards to fraud. So 311 says by or any on the company. So what do you have to report? Whether there is any fraud that either the company has done or any fraud that has happened on the company, the nature and the amount involved. Next is any report under section 143.12. So whether there is any report under section 143.12 filed by the auditor in form ADT 4. And C part is any whistleblower complaint received. So as we've already studied your whistleblower part. So any whistleblower complaint has been received, all of this will be filed in, all of this will be under clause 311. Next is your 312 that talks about Nidhi company. So Nidhi company, whether they have complied with the net owned funds, that is deposits in the ratio of 1 is to 20 to meet liabilities. So your deposit to liability should be in the ratio of 1 is to 20. That is your net owned funds is to deposit should be in the ratio of 1 is to 20. Okay. Next is maintaining 10% unencumbered term deposits to meet liability. So one ratio you have to learn is 1 is to 20. Second is your 10% unencumbered deposits. And third is default in payment of interest on deposit or repayment thereof. Whether there has been any default while repaying your interest or deposit or payment of any such matter. Okay, now your 313 talks about transactions with related party. So transaction means transaction, therefore tera. So transactions with related party in compliance with section your 177 and 188. 314 talks about internal audit system. So company has internal audit system as per commensurate with the size of business. That means if there is a larger business size, if the business is huge, of course your internal audit team should also be huge and the internal audit system that you have in place should also be as per the size of your organization. And next is reports of internal auditor under audit were considered by stat auditor or not. So whether the stat auditor is referring the reports of the internal auditor or not. 315 talks about non-cash transaction with directors. So if you have entered into any non-cash transaction with the directors, in such a case, you have to check whether your provisions of section 192 have been complied with or not. Next is the section 316. 316 is your registration with RBI. So this we will also be covering under NBFC. So that talks about it is required to be registered under section 45 IA of the RBI Act. So whether you are required to register under section 45 IA of RBI Act. So these are for NBFCs. And if yes, so whether the registration has been obtained or not. Your next part is conducted NBFC activities without valid certificate of registration for RBI. So if you did not take this registration, but you have still been carrying on the activity that an NBFC carries on, in such a case, this will have to be reported under CARO 2020. Your C is company, a core investment company, that is your CIC, and whether it still fulfills the criteria. So there are some conditions given for being a core investment company. So if yes, whether the condition it has been fulfilled or not. And last is whether group has more than one CIC. CIC is your core investment company. If yes, indicate the number of CICs. 317 talks about cash losses. Cash losses means your amount of cash losses you will have to specify. 318 talks about consideration of issues raised by outgoing auditor. Outgoing auditor means the auditor that is leaving. You have to consider the issues that he had raised. So if any stat auditor resigned in the current year, whether the auditor has taken into consideration the issues, objections, or concerns raised by the outgoing auditor. So whether the incoming auditor has checked whether the outgoing auditor has raised any concern and has he given them any consideration. Okay, then next is your existence of material uncertainty as to company's ability to meet liability. So your clause number 19 talks about if there are any uncertainties that maybe the company will not be able to settle its liabilities or any liability that are incoming, the company will not be able to pay those. So on basis of ratios, aging, etc., whether auditor is of the opinion that no material uncertainty exists on the date of audit report regarding ability of company to meet liabilities that fall due within 1 year from the balance sheet date. So these are of course your current liabilities. So if the auditor feels, based on of course whatever ratios, aging analysis, whatever he does, if he feels that the company will not be able to meet liability, which are coming in the past in the next 1 year, it will be reported under clause number 19. Your clause number 20 talks about transfer of unspent CSR amount. So your CSR amount that you keep aside, if you have not spent it, that is your unspent CSR amount. So other than for ongoing project, if a company has transferred unspent amount to fund specified under Schedule 7 within 6 months from end of financial year as per section 135.5. So if the company has not been able to spend its entire CSR amount, whether they have transferred it to the fund that has been specified in your Schedule 7. And last, your last clause, I missed one point. Okay. So whether amount spent under section 135.5 transferred to special account as per section 135.6. So any amount which has been unspent under section 135.5 has been transferred to your special account which is required under section 135.6. And your clause number 21, that is your last clause of CARO 2020, is qualification or adverse remarks in CARO report to group companies. So if the auditor has made any qualification, so any qualification or adverse remark in CARO reports of companies included in CFS, if yes, details of the companies and the para number has to be specified. With this, we are done with CARO 2020. But wait. We still have to learn the clauses. Okay. So as we did in the starting, applicabilities to all companies, including foreign company, but excluding what is OBC P. So that is I stands for insurance company, S stands for small company, O stands for 1% company, B stands for banking company, and C was your section 8 company, and P is your private company where there were 3 limits given. So your these are the companies to whom CARO 2020 is not applicable. Okay, so now to learn the clauses, clause numbers. So first is your clause 1. Clause 1 is we have one fixed asset. So therefore we have one fixed asset becomes your clause 1. Why do we have this fixed asset? Why would we have machinery? To make inventory. So therefore your clause number 2 becomes inventory. So to make inventory. Clause number 3. So now 3 rhymes with guarantee. So 3 rhymes with guarantee and securities, that therefore it is your investment guarantee security loan or advances. Now your 4. So it is for compliance purpose. So therefore your 4 is compliance to section 185 and 186. Your clause number 5 is you made a 5 rupees deposit. Okay, so rupees 5 deposit in your public deposit. Clause number 6 is whose cost is rupees 6. So cost is rupees 6. You made a deposit of 5 rupees for something whose cost is rupees 6. So therefore cost records is your clause number 6. 7 we did while doing only, so therefore statutory dues. Instead of statutory dues, learn it as statutory dues. So therefore this becomes your clause number 7. Then is your clause number 8. Clause number 8 is unrecorded income. So unrecorded income, unrecorded 8 income. Clause 9 is your repayment. So repayment, if you see REPAYMENT, repayment has 9 letters. So therefore your clause number 9 becomes your repayment of dues. Okay. Clause 10. So clause 10 is we have raised 10 rupees. So therefore money raised by public issue and term loan. So that is your clause 10. So if you remember, we have deposited 5 rupees whose cost is rupees 6 and we have raised rupees 10. Okay. Clause 11. Clause 11 becomes fraud करके 9-2-11 हो जाना. If you remember during your school days, you must have heard this. That is 9-2-11 हो गया. So after fraud 9-2-11 हो गया means ran away. तो फ्रॉड करके 9-2-11 हो गया, therefore 11 is your fraud. Now clause number 12 is निधि company. So निधि is in standard 12, निधि is in 12th grade, so therefore your clause number 12 becomes निधि. Clause 13 is transaction with RP. So 13 is tera, so therefore transaction with your related parties. Clause number 14 is 14 is doing internal audit. So if during articleship, when I joined my articleship, I was in internal audit and I was still a teenager. So therefore it is, so we were 4 interns working, 4 articles working. So therefore 4 teams doing internal audit. So therefore clause is 14 and it is your internal audit system. Next is your clause 15, that is 15 rhymes with gift. So fifth gift. So therefore your 15 rhymes with gift, fifth rhymes with gift. So your gift is a non-cash. Of course, when you give gift, it is not a cash item. So therefore, non-cash transaction with directors. Now your clause 16. Clause 16 is RBI की सलाह लो. 16 is also SOLA. So therefore, RBI की सलाह लो, that is your registration with RBI. Salah means you take their help, you take their advice. Clause 17 is 17 पर खतरा, that is of cash losses. So therefore, 17 is your cash losses. Clause 18. 18 को in Hindi you say as ATRA. So outra, that is your outgoing auditor. So consideration of issues raised by your outgoing auditor. Next is your clause 19. Clause 19 is your material uncertainty. So material uncertainty, that will be your material uncertainty to meet liability. So existence of material uncertainty as to company's ability to meet liabilities. Just your last 2 clauses and we'll finish this video. That is your clause 20. Clause 20 is in Hindi you say it as Bs. So therefore CSR you are doing for Bs. Bs are very important for us. So transfer of unspent CSR amount. Okay, so this CSR activity you are doing for the Bs. And clause 21 is adverse remark आया तो एक किस दे दो. अगर रिपोर्ट बुरा आई तो एक किस दे दो. So that is your clause number 21. So that is qualifications or adverse remarks in CARO reports of group companies.